This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Agun Erev Shabbos, Bruchim Habayim. We're going to continue our series on Tefilla. Yes, we're still in Hodu, but a lot of people have told me that this series has been a very big tayelas for them, because Tefillah is something we do every day, and when we get insight into something in davening, it's something that we could reinforce daily. If I could take the opportunity, we're Be'ezus Hashem planning a trip for the July 4th weekend. We want to cordially invite anybody, any of our viewers, listeners, participants could join us. Be'ezus Hashem, we have a very unique itinerary, an amazing itinerary. We're going to be visiting the Chafetz Chaim. I'm sure he'd be very happy to see you. We're going to be visiting the Aruch HaShulchan, the Baal Kitzer Shulchan Aruch, the Taz, the Drisha, the Prisha, the Shayil Umeshiv, Reb Hillel Kalamaya, the Zidichover, the Kamarna, Reb Aaron Hagadol, the Nevardikar, Reb Shimon Shkop, Reb Chaim Volozhiner, the Chassam Sofer, Reb Shaya Karastir, the Yismach Moshe, and many others. So, if you say, look, I'm a Mishnah Brura, I follow the Kitzer Shulchan Aruch, we're going to visit him. I follow the Aruch HaShulchan, whoever you follow, we're going to be visiting. And we have a very nice group going. And if you want more information, you can go to our site, rabbidg.com, and the itinerary is there. If you want to sign up, you could sign up from there. Okay, so this year is sponsored by our dear friend, Rabbi Tzal Rose of Los Angeles, Nishmas, his brother, Tzvi ben Levi Yitzchak, Neshama Shav and Aliyah, B'Yomel Tzosha, for his whole family, Ad B'Yasko El Tzedek. We're now moving on to the next braid of Tefillah, the third braid. This is the braid of strength. The first braid was Roimimu Hashem Lekeinu V'Shtachavu L'Hadam Raglav Kadoshu, Roimimu Hashem Lekeinu V'Shtachavu L'Har Kodshoi Ki Kadosh Hashem Lekeinu. That's braid number one. Braid number two is the braid of Rachamim, where we say V'hu Racham Yichap Ravon V'lai Yashchis V'hir B'lash V'lei Chomosai Ata Hashem Lo Yisichla Rachamecha Mimeni Chazdecha V'amidcha Tomitzruni Zechar Rachamecha Hashem V'chasadecha Kimei Elam Hema. That was a bigger braid. Today we're learning about the third braid. Remember, this segment of Psukei de Zimra corresponds to the intro of Negadelcha, Gidol. Gidol is a lashon of Miriam Megadol Seyar, a lashon of braiding. Now this braid consists of two psukim, and in these two psukim we have the theme of oiz, strength. We say, Tenu oiz le'Elokim, give strength to God, Al Yisrael ga'avasai. On the Jewish people is his pride. Ve'uzai, again oiz, and his might, bashchakim in the clouds. Noira Elokimi mikdashecha, God is fearsome from his holy places. Kel Yisrael, God of Israel. Hu noisein oiz, he gives strength. V'sa'atzumais la'am baruch Elokim. So we have the word oiz, we have the word koyach, and we have the word oitzem. These are shemos nirdafim. You know what shemos nirdafim are? Synonyms. That's an important word to be familiar with. Shemos nirdafim are synonyms. And Rav Shamshin Rafal Hirsch is masber. Oiz is greater than koyach. Oiz is a koyach that nobody could stand up to. In French, we call it invincible. You ever hear that word? French word? Right? I'm just joking. In English, it's called invincible. Invincible means a strength that nobody could even stand up against. The Torah is called oiz. Where is it called oiz? Hashem oiz la'amo yitain. Tenu oiz Elokim. The simple pshat is not that we have to make God invincible. We should ascribe all power and invincibility in the world to God. Whenever all great might in the world should be ascribed to God. Aval yesh kavana yoser amuka. There is a deeper pshat, based on what we explained earlier in Baruch Sha'amar, that every act of Torah, or avoida, or kiyam hamitzvos, it disseminates holiness to the world, and adds kayach above, that Hashem is mashpia on us. This is a concept we've spoken about many times. Tenu oiz Elokim. When we do mitzvahs, we, so to speak, empower God to give us bracha. Why? God doesn't want that He just is mashpia on us great blessing. God prefers that the world exists minei ubei, meaning through our tefillos and our tishbachos and our Torah, that causes Hashem to be mashpia toiva on us. So we empower God. V'zet tenua izalakim, give strength to God, empower Him to bring shefa to the world. Al Yisrael ga'avasai, over the Jewish people is His pride, that the majesty and greatness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in Israel who are Mekayim mitzvahs. Therefore Hashem was Hirba lahem Torah u'mitzvahs. V'uzay b'shechakim. V'uzay b'shechakim means He doesn't need our strength, because He could bring Kedusha, Tara, Simcha, and Bracha to the world without Tefillah. But we say as follows: Al Yisrael ga'avasai v'uzay b'shechakim. Even though God's real strength is in the clouds and He doesn't need us, but He would prefer that His majesty become apparent. Al Yisrael ga'avasai. Noira Elokim. How awesome God is, Mimikdashecha. That is the place that Hashem selected, that all the tefillah should go up to Shamayim, and through that avenue, the God of Israel, He gives strength and ta'atzumos to His people. Oiz is the Torah, that He gives Klal Yisrael, that they're Mekayim the Torah, and He also gives us sa'atzumos, that He gives us physical strength. Okay, now I want to show you some of the insights of Rabbi Victor Miller, Zechat Tzaddik Livracha, into these two psukim, this third braid called the braid of Oiz. Rav Miller says as follows: Tenu Oiz L'Elokim. It means give to Hashem glory and strength. Right? We said earlier, give kavod v'oiz. We said Hodu l'Hashem kir v'shmai, Hodu v'amal liloisav, Shiur lai zamru lai, Sicha b'chon v'loisav, Asal b'shem kol Yisrael v'asher, Dershem v'uzay, Bak shufan of tamid, Zichnu v'ez v'ashas, Amav says. We said earlier, Tenu l'Hashem kavod v'oiz. Basically, what that means is you should know and you should declare that all power in the world belongs to Hashem alone, and our strength is nothing other than a gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Tenu Oiz L'Elokim means that we should ascribe all strength in the world to Hashem, and by doing so you figuratively empower God. And it enables Hashem to bestow on the world all goodness and happiness, which is basically the system of Midah K'neged Midah. That Hashem deals with us in the same way that we deal with Him. We say, Baruch HaGever Asher Yiftach B'Hashem, V'Haya Hashem Miftachai. Blessed is man who trusts in Hashem, and Hashem will therefore reward the person by becoming his trust. That Hashem deals with us Midah K'neged Midah. When we have trust in Hashem, Hashem bails us out. He is true to our trust in Him. So too, when we give strength to Hashem and ascribe all strength in this world to Him, He makes good on that ascription, and He then comes through to us and endows us with strength. Or we say, let your kindness, Hashem, be upon us as we have hope to you. We're going to, right? Yihi chazdecha Hashem aleinu, ka'asher yichalnu lach. Let your kindness be upon us, Hashem, as we have hope to you. So therefore, when men recognize God's power and they trust in His strength and hope solely to Him, they give strength to Him. He responds and He becomes their strength. The more we say, well, the government is strong, and the state of Israel is strong, and the missiles are strong, the more we ascribe strength to other things, so Hashem says, okay, then I won't be strong for you. Tzur Yeladcha Teshi, Hashem, so to speak, weakens Himself for us. But when we ascribe all strength to God, God comes true, God remains true and faithful to our faith in Him. Now we say, Al Yisrael Ga'avasai. Give strength to Hashem, who His pride is upon Klal Yisrael. Now, how is this pride on Klal Yisrael? In two ways. Number one, Hashem demonstrated that His presence was upon Israel by means of His wonders which He performed for them, and by his Ananei HaKavod, which accompanied us for 40 years, and through Nevuah, which he bestowed on Klal Yisrael. So that's one way with Hashem. One way with which Hashem demonstrates that Klal Yisrael is his pride. Hashem hangs out with us. He doesn't hang out with any other nation. He gives us his special gifts. He gives us his cloud. And next, his pride is with Israel in the fame that he makes Klal Yisrael more famed in the world than any other nation. His pride is upon his people by means of the fame that he became famed in the world by the efforts of Yisrael who proclaimed his name and who busied themselves in the study of his Torah. So his pride is on Klal Yisrael in that we proclaimed Hashem's greatness to the world. Now his strength is in the skies. Which means, what's the connection here? Why are we saying God's strength is in the skies? We say, give strength to God. Why are we mentioning his strength is in the skies? Says Rav Miller, that even though we attribute all strength to God, and we say that all power in the universe is his, but we have to understand that in actuality, we know nothing of his true power. And we have seen almost nothing of his greatness. Because his true strength is concealed in the heavens. The heavens doesn't mean in the clouds. It means in a secret state of existence, not in a place. God's glory fills the whole world. Conceptually, even as much strength as we ascribe to God, his true greatness and strength is hidden. So this verse is a paraphrase of what it says in Devarim. There is none like God, O Yeshurun. Ein kakel Yeshurun, roichev shamayim bi'ezrecha, v'gavasa yishechakim. Here we say, give strength to God, because upon Klal Yisrael is his pride, but his strength is in the skies. Meaning, all your good fortune you should attribute to Hashem. You're successful in your job, you're successful in business, you're successful in any endeavor, you ascribe it to God. Because he alone possesses all strength. And even if you don't see him openly, you should know that his pride and power are mostly over Klal Yisrael, but his strength, his real essence is hidden. Now, this is very important. Noira Elokim mikdashecha. God is feared from your sacred places. Hashem's presence, which rested on Klal Yisrael, was through the agent of the holy places. Holy places means sanctuaries. Through the Mishkan and the Mikdash, that was the vehicle with which Hashem rested a Shekhinah on Klal Yisrael. Like we say, Yishlach Ezracha Mikodesh Umitzion Yisadeka. When God helps us, he sends forth his help from Tzion and from his holy places. The help from the sanctuaries refers to the Mishkan in the wilderness, the Mishkan in Shiloh, the first Beis HaMikdash, and Hashem demonstrated fearful and mighty deeds against any nations that rose up. Right? Today, when Hamas sends missiles, so why doesn't lightning come down from heaven and just obliterate them? You know why? Because we don't have a Beis HaMikdash. But back in the day, when we had a Mishkan, and we had a Beis HaMikdash, we plowed through Eretz Yisrael, knocked off 31 kings, and didn't let one soul live. But that was through the agent of the Mishkan and the Beis HaMikdash. So Moshe conquered Arad, he conquered Sichain, he conquered Oig, Yeshua crossed the Yarden, and the walls of Yericho just fell down. And were the enemies defeated? Stones came down from Shemayim. And the sun stood still. And he conquered 31 kings. How? Because there was a Mishkan. Ehud defeated Moav. God confounded Sisera's chariots. He destroyed his entire legion in times of Devaira. Gideon had 300 men, defeated thousands of Midyanim and Amalekim, who were numbered uncountable. Yiftach defeated Ammon. Shimshon, as one man, kept the Philistines, the Palestinians in Gaza, quiet for 20 years. How? Because there was a Mishkan. Yishlach Ezracha Mikodesh. God smote 1,000,000 men of Zarach, the Ethiopian, who threatened King Asa. The angel of Hashem killed 185,000 in Ashur's camp in times of Chizkiah. Many wondrous occasions occurred in the times that there was a mikdash. So when Hashem said, "Va'asu li mikdash v'shachanti b'soicham," He meant business. You make me a house, I'll live among you. I don't care if 1,000,000 Ethiopians come to attack you, I'll kill all of them. You could have 185,000 soldiers of Ashur, I will defeat all of them. Like the pasuk says, Ki Hashem hoylech bekarav machanecha l'hoishiacha, and to give you your enemies. This is the principle. Noira Elokim mikdashecha. So you'll say, so even today we have a mikdash ma'at. That's right. That's a very large degree of salvation for the Jewish people, comes through the agent of our Batei Knesiyos. That's why Jews are so careful, chas v'shalom, never to speak during davening, because they understand all of their salvation comes from the Beis HaKnesses. That's why observant Jews do not bring their telephones into the Beis HaKnesses, because that's their lifeline, that's their protection. And that's why, Baruch Hashem, 1,000 missiles could come and be shot at Klal Yisrael, and because there are some Jews that appreciate and value the Beis HaKnesses, from those Jews, they bring salvation to the rest of Klal Yisrael. But that's the principle. Noira Elokim mimikdashecha. God is fearsome from His temple. Now, the pasuk continues. Hu noisein oiz v'sa'atzumais la'am. He gives strength to the people. This articulates another principle. Even without the agency of the sanctuary, let's say between the destruction of Shiloh and the erection of Mikdash Shloimeh, or after the destruction of Beis HaMikdash, God's presence remains on His people, and He gives them strength, because even though Al Yisrael Ga'avasai V'uzai Bashchakim, and even though Noira Elokim Mikdashecha, but Keil Yisrael Hu Noisein Oiz V'Satzumais La'am, the God of Israel still gives strength to the people, even without the Beis HaMikdash. You know why? Because we're His people. And Hashem made a deal. He said, I will establish my covenant between me and between you and between your seed after you as an everlasting covenant. And then the pasuk ends off very interestingly. Baruch Elokim. Baruch Elokim. What does it have to do with the price of tea in China? Baruch Elokim. The answer is, says Rav Miller, Zechatzak Levracha, this is the conclusion of the idea which began at the outset of the previous verse. We just said, Tenu Oiz Elokim, ascribe strength to God. All strength, power, success comes solely from Him. And since He alone is Israel's strength, and the strength of the Gentiles is also due solely to God, but Israel is most keenly aware of it. So since we ascribe all strength to God, you know what we always need to do? We need to say the following. Baruch Elokim. Blessed is God. All our success must be attributed to Him. And to Him alone are due all of our thanks. Because in whatever He does, even if it seems the opposite of success for us, He's giving strength to His people. Because Kol Man Da'av Rachmana L'Tavav. So whatever we ascribe, everything in this world, what seems to be our benefit and success, we ascribe to God. Even what seems to be a failure to us is really a mercy of Hashem. So Tenu Oiz Elokim. And the way we fulfill that is, we always say Baruch Elokim. That's always in our mouth. A man is obligated to bless Hashem for what seems evil, just as he blesses for the good. Such a people is blessed by God. So, this is the response. Since we are required to give strength to Hashem, therefore, we fulfill that by saying the following two words every day, all day. Baruch Elokim. Baruch Elokim means, doesn't just mean somebody say, how you doing? Baruch Elokim. Okay, the guy asks you a question, he wants to know how you're doing. He He didn't ask for a religious declaration. But Baruch Elokeinu means that you attribute all success and bracha to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, this concludes our segment on Tefillah. If you want to bear with me for one short little thing, you're invited to stay. Give me 1 second.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.